Hello, my wild friends. I'm Anna Urban. I'm the founder of ADHD Untamed, and today we're going to be talking about visualization, but in a way that actually makes sense for ADHD brains. And before we do that, I want to tell you about how I use this in my own life. So last week, I gave my very first big in-person talk. It was at an insurance company, AmeriHealth, and I was really nervous. I have been presenting online for the last 3 years, and it's a totally different experience presenting online versus presenting in person. To be honest, outside of the classroom, back when I was a teacher, outside of that, the last time that I gave a presentation in front of an audience was college. And it didn't really go super well. In fact, I had a professor once tell me that I sounded like a Valley girl. And he was right. To be fair, I was so nervous that I changed the inflection of my voice. I truly, I don't know what came over me. And so that was the experience that I knew that I was rewriting by giving this big in-person talk. This my very first big girl talk. And what's so funny is 10 minutes before I was about to start, 10 minutes before starting my presentation, my brain offered up the thought, what if you pee in your pants? I'm dead serious. My brain offered up the thought, literally 10 minutes before I was about to start. Anna, what if you pee in your pants in the middle of the presentation? Not what if I forget my notes, not even what if I bomb. No, full fight or flight level, intrusive thought, what if I lose control of my bladder? And it was comical to me because that right there is the perfect example of how our brains work, right? First of all, what the hell was that? Let me break this down. I had done the prep. I had used visualization. I had prepped my brain. I'd done so much mental rehearsal in the weeks leading up to this presentation, right? I visualized the room, the people, the energy. I had mentally rehearsed myself standing grounded, connecting, feeling confident, and it did work. It did work. I felt grounded when I walked in, nervous, but grounded. But what's so funny is, even though visualization primes your brain to expect a certain outcome, your nervous system can still throw in a wild card. And so even though I hadn't prepped for the possibility of me peeing my pants, the reason that this is so funny is because I knew what my brain was doing. I was aware, I was conscious of what my brain was doing, because if this happens, without any sort of awareness, right, of how our brain tries to keep us safe, it can derail us, right? Our brain, its only job is to keep us safe, right? And it uses up a lot of energy to do that. Our brain is the most expensive organ, right? Your brain doesn't just wait for the world to happen. It predicts what's going to happen. And in fact, one of my favorite experts on this is Lisa Feldman Barrett. She is a top neuroscientist, an expert on emotions. And a lot of what she says actually goes against what we hear in pop psychology. So she talks about how your brain is not reacting to the world. It's predicting based on your past, right? My past experience of giving a talk in front of an audience was complete and utter failure, right? I remembered that feeling of my professor telling me that I sounded like a Valley girl, and I was aware of the fact that I hadn't done an in-person presentation to a group of adults in a long time. And so what my brain was doing was predicting based on my past. It was getting me to, protect myself, to fight or flee, right? Everything from your heartbeat to your thoughts to whether or not you might randomly piss your pants is just your brain going, have we done this before? Was it safe? Do I need to be on high alert? Right? It sounds ridiculous, but that is what our brains do. It's not logic, it's pattern recognition. It's fueled by memories and meaning. So the reason that I love visualization as a tool, the reason that I love mental rehearsal, the reason that I love coaching so much is because it allows you to visualize what is the best case scenario, what is realistic, right? And allows us to be aware of when our brains are trying to protect us by throwing in these curveballs, right? Visualization teaches your brain how to react, right? The science behind this is when you visualize yourself doing something, whether it's giving a talk or having a talk with your partner about finances, right? Or setting a boundary with your boss, or posting that post online, or sending that scary email, right? Your brain fires up the same neural pathways as if you're actually doing it. So it's called mental rehearsal. It's why athletes use it, surgeons use it, musicians use it. This was actually what, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. When it comes to me, you're really gonna laugh. Who's that swimmer? Michael Phelps. This was what he did. And this was exactly what took him to the moon. He would visualize every stroke in the pool. Lisa Feldman Barrett gave us this example, okay, so that you can see how visualization works, all right? We're gonna do an exercise right now. I want you to close your eyes if you can, obviously not if you're driving. I want you to imagine, first of all, I want you to picture a green apple. I want you to picture that green apple. Hold it in your hand, feel it. What does it feel like? Right? You can feel like the smooth skin. And now I want you to imagine biting into that apple, right? Your mouth starts to water, right? It's a little tangy, a little sweet. Your visual cortex lights up. There's no apple there. There's no apple in front of you, but I guarantee you that for most of you listening to this, your mouth watered. Your mouth watered, even just thinking about that apple. That's prediction. That's your brain getting ahead of the moment, right? That is why mental rehearsal works. That's why coaching works, because it stops that automatic thought from coming through of like, you know, I'm such a mess up, right? Like I don't have my act together, whatever, right? So yes, I might have gotten the, but what if I pee thought, but I also got to walk into that room with my body already rehearsed to feel safe. I was able to laugh that off, even with all the nerves, right? That's what visualization can do. It doesn't erase the nerves, right? We're not being delusional here, but it gives your brain a better script. And the reason that this matters if you have ADHD is you've probably had this experience. You plan for something, you visualize it going well, and then right before it happens, panic, right? Your brain goes, this is too good, let's ruin it. But here's what I want to offer you. That doesn't mean that visualization doesn't work. It simply means that your brain is still running on an outdated prediction. Visualization is how we update those predictions slowly over time. You are better off doing visualization, doing mental rehearsal 5 minutes a day, every single day for 5 minutes a day than doing it once a month for an hour. Always. Always. That is how you update those neural connections. Because remember, I hadn't given a talk in over a decade, right? An in-person talk. I've given lots of talks, online, but an in-person talk, my very last one was the one where I was called a Valley Girl. So that was over a decade of me looping on that experience, whether consciously or subconsciously. And so you can't expect to overwrite that in one fell swoop, right? It takes time. You have to give your brain a new experience, right? You are dosing yourself with prediction error, as Lisa Feldman Barrett calls it, meaning you're showing your brain something different, something better, something safer than the pattern that it's used to. But it only works if you repeat it. And 5 minutes is something that an ADHD brain can wrap its head around, right? 1 hour of meditation, visualization, affirmation, kind of a hard sell. But 5 minutes a day, absolutely you can do 5 minutes a day, right? Feel it in your body. Visualize the real moments, not just the shiny outcome, right? Visualize yourself getting nervous, and then what are you gonna do in that nervousness, right? Visualize yourself in that anxiety, and then how are you going to respond to that anxiety? I didn't visualize applause or a standing ovation. I visualized standing in front of strangers, making eye contact with them. I even visualized like somebody looking disinterested. I visualized that. Like somebody maybe like on their phone or distracted, or I visualized being thrown a question that I didn't know how to answer. I visualized all of that and breathed my way through it. I didn't plan to have the answers to every possible question that they could ask me. No, but I visualized how I would respond in my body, somatically, if they asked me something I didn't know the answer to, right? I visualized saying that first sentence, and that is what got me through. You don't have to trick your brain. You just have to train it. You don't have to prepare for every possible outcome. You just have to rehearse what would happen from an emotional place, right? Because we can predict what anxiety feels like. We can predict what it feels like to lose our train of thought, right? Your brain is already making predictions. All you're doing with visualization is you're stepping in and you're giving it new material. You're saying, let's predict self-trust instead of panic. Let's expect I'll respond, not shut down. Let's prepare for presence instead of perfection. This is not spiritual fluff. This is neuroscience. And if an intrusive thought happens to show up, cool, right? You're aware of what's happening. It is much less likely to derail you, right? And you can remind your brain, we've rehearsed something different. So here's your takeaway for today. Visualization isn't about pretending that everything will be perfect. It's not about imagining the best case scenario. It's about training your brain to stay with you when things are real. Not when you're crushing it, not when you're fully regulated, but in those messy human moments. That's when it counts. You're not broken if weird thoughts pop up. You're not doing it wrong if you feel nervous. You're human. You're rewiring. And if you want to go deeper with this, come hang out with us inside of ADHD Untamed. We are not here to visualize the perfect version of you. We're here to support the real you, right? So that your untamed version can come through. Not this fantasy version that you are trying to live up to, right? That version is already worthy right here, right now. Stay wild, my friends.